com Boa tarde, estamos ao vivo com informações urgentes sobre o furacão Milton, que se aproxima rapidamente da costa da Flórida. O sistema, a categoria 4, promete causar grandes impactos nas próximas horas. As autoridades estão em alerta máximo e evacuações já foram ordenadas em diversas áreas costeiras. O furacão Milton traz ventos que ultrapassam os 220 km/h, com risco elevado de inundações e tempestades severas. Cidades como Miami e Fort Lauderdale estão diretamente na rota prevista, com um aumento da previsão de chuvas torrenciais e possíveis tornados associados. A Defesa Civil pede que os moradores sigam as orientações, busquem abrigos seguros e evitem deslocamentos desnecessários. Acompanhe conosco para mais atualizações sobre a trajetória do furacão e as medidas de segurança em andamento. Últimas informações sobre o furacão Milton, que teve sua chegada à Flórida antecipada devido a uma mudança inesperada de rota. O Centro Nacional de Furacões dos Estados Unidos alertou que a tempestade pode atingir o solo ainda nesta noite, por volta das 23 horas, horário local, 00 horas de quinta-feira, no horário de Brasília, em uma área próxima a Sarasota, no sul da Flórida. A mudança de rota deslocou o ponto de impacto da tempestade está de cerca de 25 quilômetros ao sul em relação ao previsto inicialmente, reduzindo o tempo de permanência do furacão sobre o Golfo do México, o que significa que ele ainda pode atingir a Terra como um grande furacão, de categoria 3 ou 4. O furacão Milton, que já foi considerada a tempestade mais forte do planeta em 2024, atingiu ventos de 281 km/h e, apesar de poder perder força, está previsto para aumentar de tamanho, ampliando os riscos para áreas mais distantes da costa. O calor recorde das águas do Golfo do México tem sido um fator-chave para a intensificação do fenômeno. Autoridades locais estão em alerta máximo e pedem que a população, especialmente em áreas já afetadas pelo furacão Helene, busque abrigo ou evacue imediatamente para regiões mais seguras. As próximas horas serão cruciais para a Flórida. Essa versão atualiza as informações, mantém o foco nos pontos mais relevantes e tem uma narrativa mais fluida para o formato de telejornal.
Rotating thunderstorms here, these areas of high radar reflectivity. We've got a tornado watch that covers much of the central and southern portions of the state of Florida that goes until 9 o'clock tonight. But you can see several tornado warnings in effect just west of West Palm Beach up into Martin County, Indian River County, now one very close to the Orlando metro area. So these have been some pretty intense tornadoes. By tropical cyclone standards. They've been pretty long-lived, and we're likely to see more of them as we go through the overnight hours as the center of Milton reaches the coast. But this sort of right front quadrant of the storm is going to be really favorable for those tornadoes to form in. And it's worth mentioning that you could have multiple tornado warnings during the rest of the event. So just because you have one and it gets past you doesn't mean you can't have more.
All right, you're just listening into some of this here on Live Now from Fox. Let's quickly take you out to our Fox 13 team as they detail some of these forecasts Milton here as we prepare for the storm to make landfall.
We'll end up moving through Manatee County, some of Sarasota County, and the storm surge south is going to be problematic from the point of landfall. And then all of this hours of extremely heavy rain around Tampa Bay. And last time I looked was an hour ago. We're gonna easily end up with a foot and a half of rain on top of ground that has dealt with a wet summer. So there's going to be some flooding. There's no doubt about that. And these wind speeds here are probably running about 100 to 120, and some of that is going to start on shore. Now, as the hurricane moves across the state, going to weaken quite a bit, but there could be some tree damage along the way, maybe an additional tornado or two. I'm going to watch that track all the way across. Is this incorporating the 5 o'clock data?
All right, you're just listening in this. Our Fox 13 team continues to detail the latest with this live coverage of Hurricane Milton, expected to make landfall in the coming hours, and devastation there, destruction, and people under mandatory evacuations. As you can see, our computer XRAD monitor here on Live Now from Fox. Let's bring into the conversation as we talk about the major hurricanes in Florida. We want to bring in right now founder of Gray Bull Rescue, Brian Stern. Brian, thank you so much for joining us. I know cell service is a little bit shaky in that region right now, and we see it kind of go in and out, but we're going to chat with it if you can still hear us. What are we looking at right now? Set the scene. What are we preparing for with Hurricane Milton?
Yeah, we have a lot of rain. We have a lot of rain. We already have a lot of there's definitely down trees. The wind is not yet. The water is definitely here for sure.
No, that is so very true. And of course, let's put up some video because you and take us through what happened the last several weeks.
Yeah, so the last several weeks have been very busy for us. We were out the night of the first night of Hurricane Helene. There was a fire that started actually at a friend of ours' house, one of our donors. As you know, we're donor funded. GrayBullRescue.org is our website. His house caught fire because he had a Tesla. Tesla plus salt water equals fire. His family with a couple of kids and their neighbors got stuck in a pretty nasty fire right in downtown Tampa. Tampa Fire was trying to get there, but the water was so deep, their fire trucks couldn't get there quick enough. So we brought our boats in and were able to get them. We were able to get 10 people and 2 dogs and 2 babies out of there. That was the first night of the hurricane. Since then, we've been deployed to Asheville in North Carolina. At the same time, we've been deployed in Beirut, rescuing Americans from the Israeli-Hezbollah war at Lebanon. And now here we have Hurricane Milton. That's the last 12 days. So we're really busy. We're really busy, to say the least.
Yeah, you guys are very busy, but doing really good work there as well as we see some of this video. Can you describe some of the challenges as we expect for Hurricane Milton? A lot of storm surge, a lot of rain, a lot of wind. What type of challenges do hurricanes present both as they are happening, but also in the aftermath?
With Milton specifically, because it's happening right on top of Helene, the benefit is that all the hurricane folks and first responders
out, and you mentioned some of the EVs and those causing the problem as they don't mix well with salt water. You said that pretty well as well. What type of people have you rescued? Can you kind of describe who these individuals are, most notably in Hurricane Helene? Who are these people that maybe didn't listen to the evacuations orders or couldn't get out in time? Who are these people that you've rescued?
All kinds. Grateful Rescue, we operate where the government isn't. That's the best way to think about us. We're there, we fill the holes. So the first. It's going to be so bad. And sometimes Mother Nature changes her mind, which also messes things up. We work where the government is not, either because of a policy thing, or they can't get there, or because of resources, or whatever. We don't really care, to be honest. All we care about is if your passport looks like my passport and you're in trouble, we like to operate at the speed of need. When you call someone for help, whatever the reasons are, we don't really care. Whatever those reasons are, we're happy to, my team and I are happy to do what we can do. Done 600 missions, 600 missions together as a team all over the world. We're coming up on 700 missions. We rescued over 7,000 people. We've broken people out of jail. We've done hurricanes in Maui and all kinds of stuff. And bottom line is, all we are is just Americans doing what Americans should always do. RainbowRescue.org is our website.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a little bit. I'll let you pump this out in a little bit. But give me a breakdown of some of these rescues that you had, because you talked about just the variety of locations that you've been in. We're expecting landfall to come in the next 6-12 hours. What does it look like in the next short time frame, but also in the longer time frame? And how do both of those maybe happening while the storm is very present, but also in the aftermath? Can you describe the differences and the different challenges there for us, Brian?
Yeah, while it's ongoing, we try and stay pretty close to our flagpole. Yep. So if we have what we can do to legally safe to do so, we're happy to do those. We're trying to do some of those, but it is a challenge because the environment is so bad. Once the storm passes and it calms down a little bit, is when our quads are going to come out, and we're going to do some really big operations, probably in Tampa, definitely in Sarasota.
No, that makes sense as well. And you talked about how you were helping people in the North Carolina region, in Asheville, and those areas around it. Can you describe the challenges of it being along the coast, along Tampa, because obviously the hurricane gaining strength in the Gulf of Mexico? How much of a challenge is it being right there on the Gulf of Mexico, along the ocean, which is obviously unrelenting, unforgiving? How difficult is that?
The storm surge is the real problem, right? Depending on who you talk to, 15 feet, 16 feet, 17 feet of storm surge. We have a lot of specialized vehicles to deal with that problem. We have boats and airboats and all kinds of stuff. But the reality is, the water part of being on the coast is really the biggest challenge that is
see through the rain and the wind as this camera is shaking there. Of course, we're following it as it remains a Category 3 storm in Florida, heading toward Florida. Let's get you right back out to our Fox 13 team as they're detailing the latest with what's to come, detailing the forecast and much, much more. Let's listen in to their live broadcast here on Live Now.
We call this place home, that he will build back and help others to do the same.
I think you just get up every day and know that this is just part of living on the water. It's part of living in Florida, and it's got to help each other out. We got to get through this, and we got to rebuild the state of Florida. And thank God we've got Governor Ron DeSantis leading the way.
I want to talk to you, too. You said the night that Helene came in, you were here. We saw the downstairs, which is severely damaged. Go ahead and just talk about just what that was like.
I think it was the first time that I really got ready for a hurricane. I put 2 foot of plywood up on the walls, and when it breached the plywood, I kind of came upstairs and just resigned myself to what had happened. And the most haunting sound you'll ever hear in your life is your furniture beating off your walls. It's a terrible, terrible sound, and you can't do anything about it. So we're all going to get through this. We're going to rebuild, and we'll get back.
Yeah, and what you're seeing right here is some video from Sarasota Bay. It's kind of the calm before everything happened this morning. This was around 11 a.m. You could see furniture still out in the bay there from Helene, and residents concerned about just how much surge they will see today and the impacts that could likely alter the area forever. And again, it's really surreal to hear. For decades living in this area, having family as well, we've always felt so lucky knowing that the storms never came this close. Now they're coming so close to so many people, and it's just a hard thing to know what to do. Obviously, we need to stay safe. We need to stay with our family members to make sure everyone's okay. Omar and I just saw a couple people here in the Gulfgate neighborhood going to their cars, starting to leave once again. Still a little bit of time to do it, but really you got to get into a safe place within the next hour or two. Chris, back to you.
Yeah, good advice there. And just on a personal note, just hang in there, Kim. I mean, it's because of your reporting and your big heart that all of our viewers know exactly what kind of people live there on those barrier islands that took such a terrible blow from Helene. And because of your reporting, too, a lot of people made the safe decision to get out of harm's way this time. So keep up the great work and stay safe.
She is a professional. She is a reporter, but she's a human. And everyone out there is. This is a weather story right now, and that's what we're worried about as well.
Down here in Tampa, so naturally Bayshore Boulevard is already wet. The sidewalk certainly has a lot more water on it than it did when I saw you guys last about an hour ago. Again, we're here on Bayshore Boulevard in Tampa. Now, I will say that the roads have remained open. When I was here for Hurricane Helene, we watched all that water just violently splash over the balustrades here. That's not what we have at play right now. Right now, we've got a lot of wind, a lot of rain, and you can see the roads already wet. Now, thankfully, in about the last hour, we have seen traffic overall gone down. There are fewer cars out here, fewer people out and about kind of taking a look around. But we have seen Bayshore already being taken over by water. And you can see this video, and I shot this a little while ago. You can already tell that those northbound lanes is sort of beginning near that intersection with Oregon Avenue, already completely underwater. You can barely kind of see those lane lines there. There were a few cars at that time driving around, and you can see when you look at them, all that water that's kicking up. And again, it doesn't take much for Bayshore to flood, and so we were already seeing this about an hour ago, and we of course know that more water is on the way. Now back here on Bayshore Boulevard, this is an area that we will certainly keep an eye on. Again, the streets taking on a significant amount of water. We have seen emergency vehicles pass by, but again, traffic lower on the low side, which is good because people really should be staying home at this point. I will also mention, again, Bayshore Boulevard, this is part of Zone A, which is under a mandatory evacuation here in Hillsborough County. So is Zone B. And also, because of the flooding that we saw with Hurricane Helene, and also some of those fires with electric vehicles, the city has allowed people to park their cars in some of the city garages. And when we were driving by earlier today, we saw people taking advantage of that. So certainly hoping that people will stay off the roads and that they move their cars to higher and safer ground earlier if they needed to do so. I'll send it back to you guys.
Ariel Placencia reporting tonight on Bayshore Boulevard. Ariel, thank you.
So we, when we stand, Nash and I work over there, we have the open chat. So we have a kind of a discussion with our friends at the Weather Service. So we kind of know what they're thinking, and we can type, and they kind of answer us, go back and forth. Yeah. It's kind of a team thing. So on the chat now is that they're probably going to issue what's called an extreme wind warning, which is rarely done. I mean, it's not like it was done up in the Big Bend when Helene made landfall. And since I've been here, I don't remember the last time one's been issued. It's really issued because the Weather Service says either way, the wind you're about to experience is going to be really bad. Okay. And the criteria is, just so you know, the wind needs to be sustained surface winds need to be greater than 100 knots, which is about 115 miles an hour. Really? So what they're doing is they're watching that core off the coast, and as it starts moving towards northern Manatee, where Kim is, and up towards Anna Maria, and probably maybe a little bit of southern Pinellas, that's where, and it's not going to be long lasting, it's going to be very small. It's not going to be like a whole county. It's not like Hillsborough. It's going to be really where it's going to happen. Okay. So get set for that. And also, if Nash is over here, so would that be one with the phones will go off for that, right?
Yes, this is.
That's I believe this will be in the list of alerts that you get on your phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Similar to storm surge warnings, similar to the other alerts that set off your phones, that would likely go off if this was issued. And
possible. Now, I want to reiterate a point I made clear earlier today to the folks who have been impacted by Helene. This impact, and will be now impacted by Milton. Over the last few weeks, there's been a reckless and irresponsible and relentless promotion of disinformation and outright lies about what's going on. It's undermining confidence in the people of Florida. And incredible rescue and recovery work that has been undertaken. Literally, there are thousands of fellow Americans who are putting their lives at stake and putting on the line to do the dangerous work that needs to be done now. And it's harmful to those who most need the help. Quite frankly, these lies are un-American, and there is simply no place for them. Not now, not ever. Former President Trump has led this onslaught of lies. Assertions have been made that property is being confiscated. It's simply not true. They're saying people impacted by these storms will receive $750 in cash and no more. That is simply not true either. They're saying that money needed for these crises are being diverted to migrants. What the heck are they talking about? Stop it. It's outrageous. It's just not true. Now the claims are getting even more bizarre. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the congresswoman from Georgia, is now saying the federal government is literally controlling the weather. We're controlling the weather. It's beyond ridiculous. It's so stupid. It's got to stop. Let me close with this. As difficult as these days and weeks have been, we've seen incredible courage by so many of our fellow Americans. I want to thank all the first responders for running toward danger instead of away from it, for saving lives and making a difference. FEMA personnel risking their lives, climbing on hillsides to reach people cut off by Helene. Army National Guard flying through the gale wind force that it's amazing what they're doing. Firefighters lifting collapsed wood and metal in an attempt to see if there are survivors, any survivors under the debris, risking their lives. Coast Guard teams rappelling from helicopters to rescue people and risking their own lives. There are countless friends and neighbors who have sacrificed for the greater good. Volunteers leaving their own
All right, welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andy Mack. Thank you so much for joining us. As Hurricane Milton expected to make landfall in the coming hours as a Category 3, Category 4 storm. I want to put up this post from Kaylee Tracy on the ground saying conditions significantly deteriorating here in St. Pete. Just took this video at 5:30, so just about 10 or 15 minutes ago, just 3 hours after the last one. I posted from the same spot. You can see the water gushing over some of these storm walls as well. Storm surge 10 to 12 feet in areas there around Tampa. Let's take you right now out to our Fox 13 team as they continue to detail some of these storms, as there's also a swan of tornadoes in Central Florida. Let's listen in to their coverage here on Live Now.
Feet of rain. And because the storm is still down here, it's kind of the squiggly thing at the bottom of your TV set down by the banner, that's the storm. So this is going to end up sliding like this, and what's going to happen for the next several hours is all of this rain will keep on redeveloping. This is a significant problem. And what's interesting about most hurricanes, it's usually something's left out. Usually it moves too fast to produce a lot of rain. Usually, sometimes the tornado threat isn't big. This hurricane is producing everything that you can get from a hurricane. The whole gamut of weather hazards you can get from a hurricane is being produced by Milton. There's nothing being left out. We're record-breaking tornadoes.
Over 70 warnings this morning.
70 tornado warnings, including some wedge tornadoes that you see in Oklahoma in the mix. And then you've got storm surge flooding, and then you've got freshwater flooding. And we've learned freshwater flooding is a big deal. And there's a lot more rain to come between now and, say, midnight tonight. Don't travel. It's the type of traveling where if you get yourself in a low spot, you're flooded. And with the hurricane ongoing, calling 911 is probably not going to help much when your car is inundated in the middle of a hurricane because you drove into a low spot that's flooded. So think about that. I mean, if you have to travel, something urgent, something life, do it. But generally speaking, traveling.
All that rain inland has to go somewhere. So even several hours delayed from this event, let's go back to radar really quickly. Even several hours delayed from this event, you're still going to have all that water swelling up the rivers, making their way back to the Gulf of Mexico. So keep that in mind. You don't want to be traveling in that early in the morning, especially as the sun hasn't even risen yet.
Because the rain is so heavy in Sarasota, let's look at the wind speeds at SRQ. Let's update the wind speeds and get a sense of where we stand with that. So what do we have?
Wind speeds right around 52 mile per hour gusts
63,
at the moment.
but the core is still offshore. Let's look at the chat and see if they followed up any more in that extreme wind warning discussion.
And if you're just joining us, the surge forecast has changed just a little bit and actually come down a pinch for our counties to the north as its confidence continues to grow that circulation, the center of this storm, is going to make landfall somewhere from Pinellas County south, not in our northernmost counties. That's the current thinking from the National Hurricane Center, and that's why those values have come down. We'll update that map here shortly. And
automated rain gauges in Manatee County now going over 5 inches and inundation in places, and there's still a lot more rain to come. The Soto Mall parking lot is now inundated, and all the automated stations in Manatee County are now approaching 5 inches of rain, with more rain to come.
Got the rain totals already up here from just the past 12 hours alone. Remember, the heaviest of the rainfall hasn't even pushed on shore yet. We've got totals already at half a foot along our coastline, 7, 6, almost 8 inches of radar estimated rainfall. And sometimes these numbers can be skewed a tiny bit high, but either way, we're still in the ballpark of some serious rainfall.
So all of this out here, which is up 10, 15 inches of rain, all of this, what we'll do is we'll just kind of draw this is going this way, and this is going this way. So this whole area is going to have a major flood problem in the next 5 to 10 hours. Maybe not 10 hours. We'll say in the next 5 to 6 hours. And you're talking rainfall totals 12, 15, 16 inches of rain. this has been an incredible year. You think what happened with Debbie. You think what we've had so many of these big rain events, and on they go, and there's a lot more to come.
Yeah, and while that's happening, those same spots that you highlighted there that are going to see the heavy rain also will experience the potential for hurricane-force winds all the way across the state onto the East Coast. Because remember, this forecast does call for this storm to be a hurricane through and through, from one coast to the other. It's very rare that that happens, but it takes a major hurricane like this, and even with the weakening trend that we talk about, the drier air getting into it, still a powerful hurricane, major hurricane expected on landfall.
Can we pull up the Earth Cam again?
Yeah.
On that, let's see what's going on down at some of these piers, and we'll go. I always think looking at what's going on live. It's not look like it's may be frozen. There you go.
I'll work on getting it up.
Yeah.
A lot of these cameras freeze, of course. You can imagine the connection as a hurricane's making landfall.
Yeah.
We may have lost it. No, there it's back.
Yeah. Hold on, we get back on it.
Here we are.
It's pretty rough.
That's what onshore wind looks like, driving all that surge onto the beach.
That looks like a hurricane, and that type of weather.
Kylie Jones. Let's see if she's in it now. I know it's been kind of on and off. Kylie, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, Chris, well, we are definitely in it. I can tell you that right now. Just in the last hour, that rain and the wind especially has picked up quite a bit. You can hear the gusts of wind, and at times we can even hear the wind howling in the background. I'll step out of the way, give you a better visual of kind of what you're looking at. You can see the wind blowing the rain, whether it's down on the ground or just in the air. It's blowing sheets of rain kind of across the way. We're in a neighborhood in Port Richey. This is right on the water. This is one of those many neighborhoods in the county that went through quite a bit with Hurricane Helene 2 weeks ago. Some of these homes had several feet of water inside. The home we're actually standing at had 4 feet of water inside. And, you know, neighbors are really just worried about the potential for round 2 with all of this. I mean, you can see the wind and the rain picking up quite a bit right now, and this is just the very beginning. It's only expected to get worse into the evening hours with the combination of the rainfall and all of the wind. Emergency officials here are really still concerned about the potential for storm surge flooding and flash flooding. Those are the main concerns, similar to with Hurricane Helene. So again, a lot of people here are really just worried about the potential for more flooding yet again. You can actually hear, honestly, I'm not even sure if it's sirens in the distance or the wind whistling and howling, but this neighborhood in Port Richey, again by the water, has been pretty much a ghost town all day long, which is a sign of good news that hopefully people did heed the warnings and evacuate.
line. They told us that they would do that when the threat of flooding became an issue. They need to protect the equipment, so they're asking people not to flush toilets, shower, or do laundry. City of St. Petersburg at this time.
All right. The winds and rain bands from Hurricane Milton are growing stronger. We see that.
Yep, being felt too in places like Safety Harbor. That's where Fox 13's Genevieve Curtis is.
Hey guys, we are in Safety Harbor, and this is the pier that was absolutely decimated by Helene. And right now you can see the chop out there on the bay really starting to pick up. The winds, the palm trees really starting to blow out here. This is a favorite area in Pinellas County, and there are still some boats over here in the bay, in the harbor, that remain standing here from Helene. But again, what we are expecting from Milton is going to be more intense. They expect the storm surge to be more intense in this area. This whole area has been blocked off. They actually have blockades up here at the top to keep the public from coming down to this area that was just decimated by Helene. We don't know what this area will look like after Milton, but certainly they have taken all the precautions here in Safety Harbor to keep people from coming down to this area. And just take a look at, again, the power of Mother Nature. What we saw happen here during Helene, Milton expects it to have even more of an impact. For now, I'll send it back to you. We are in Safety Harbor. Genevieve Curtis, Fox 13 News.
Thanks, Genevieve. Well, this is an encouraging sight to see here. A parking garage filled with cars, but take a close look here. Most of these, almost all of these, are electric. They're parked up in the Poe parking garage in downtown Tampa, away from any potential flooding. That's because of what we saw during Hurricane Helene. Remember, many electric cars got salt water into the batteries and caught fire, and even caught houses on fire in some cases. So people are taking this seriously. The city of Tampa opened up its parking garages and encouraged EV owners to do exactly this.
Yeah, lessons learned. All right, Hillsborough County Sheriff's deputies.
To see as the storm surge growing rapidly by the minute, but it's not the only impacts that we're seeing right now. We're also following the latest with some tornado watches and warnings across central and southern Florida. Let's take you right now out to our Fox 35 team. They're talking about another watch, a tornado warning in Brevard County until 6:15, so about 15 more minutes. Let's listen in to the latest from what they have to say, more centrally located there in Florida.
Crosses the Banana River, and then it goes towards Cocoa and the Merritt Square Mall. So if you're anywhere near Cocoa or the Merritt Square Mall, that's where you call home. This is a tornado over the Banana River right now. Now remember, Doppler radar is like taking a picture of a train. The train is the tornado, and we're the camera and the photographer. Tornadoes don't just move like this, like we see them on the radar. So even though it shows it right here, it's probably right here right now, coming across the other side of the Banana River right now. radar doesn't really show it as well. Oh, there it is. Okay. So this is pretty clear to see. This is definitely of concern right here. You see the wind blowing like that and like that. Now, it's not a huge tornado.
center of the river that's continuing to make its way just off to the northwest right here. That is definitely signs to me, and one of the three signs that we can definitely keep an eye on is if there is actually a tornado happening. So that is sign number one, seeing a little bit of a dropout in green in between the red.
These storms, if you're not watching the radar, that one after another, we're really just seeing. You want to go out and check it out. Would not be advised. Be careful. There's flying debris. There's obviously a lot of rain, and the winds will pick up.
Absolutely.
All right, so the conditions, of course, deteriorating all across the Tampa Bay area as Milton gets closer.
Fox 13's Kevin O'Donnell is near the convention center there in downtown Tampa.
I'm Kevin O'Donnell in downtown Tampa, where conditions have definitely deteriorated over the last hour. We've been in Tampa for quite a